This morning's topic came to mind for very personal and fairly selfish reasons. At the end of the week, my family and I are going on vacation. Our habit since the time of COVID has been to rent a place on a lakeside in the Northwoods. We have been to several places in Wisconsin and the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, each year trying something new. But last fall, when I was making plans for this summer, I just couldn't face going to Wisconsin or Michigan. I was angry and I felt that these swing states had betrayed us, and damned if they were going to get me. As if they care. So I looked further, and indeed I found a gorgeous location in the remote Algoma region of Ontario. I feel very good about spending a couple of weeks in a sane and democratic nation. Our time will be lake-oriented, with swimming, kayaking, paddleboarding, and fishing, along with a lot of hiking and general exploring in this new place. It's the remoteness we seek. We're city folk, and we need contact with nature at all levels, from fighting the insects to sitting up at night and watching the dark sky and the Perseid meteor shower. I expect to find great peace and personal restoration on this lakeside. And I hope to give the gift of nature once more to my grandchildren. So I picked this topic, which is pretty much everything I find sacred, as a way to get ready for the trip, to spiritually prepare myself so, as our opening reading suggested, I can be ready to pulse with the divine as I experience it. Nature and spirituality have always been closely linked. As a big part of all religions are narratives that help people understand and deal with the forces they can't otherwise understand. In pre-Abrahamic times, most of the gods that people worshipped and entreated were direct personifications of natural forces. We asked them to protect us from dangers, to bring rain for our crops, to provide game for the hunt, and to care for our dead. We made offerings to gain favor with nature, and we showed gratitude when our needs were met. Our views differ now. We still have needs, we still hold fears, but so much of what was once thought of as unknown is now better understood. The insights accumulated through years of scientific discovery have allowed us to get a much better picture of what's going on behind the curtain. Our hymn, number 1003, asked, "Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going?" By now, we have a pretty good handle on the first two of those questions, with the answers wrapped up within our two great creation stories. The first, our physical universe, came from one big bang almost 15 million years ago. The explosion of a singularity, whatever the hell a singularity is, it sounds good, started spreading particles of matter through still expanding space. Fairly soon, and by that I mean a couple of 100,000 years maybe, which is really quick, some began forming into hydrogen and helium atoms, the very light gases that are our two simplest elements. Clusters of these two gases formed into clouds, and they eventually, some of them, these clouds collapsed and ignited as stars. In the stars, in these fires, the cosmic ovens started cooking up some of the heavier elements that we're familiar with, like carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, silicon, and other things that we know as the building blocks of life as we know it. Now, this is all very simple, but it's as much as I understand. Some stars exploded as supernovas, spreading their contents across the universe as stardust. Sometimes this material got pulled into gravitational fields and formed into clusters that made planets going around a star. Our sun and our solar system are about 4.5 billion years old. So Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. So it took 2/3 of the time that our universe has been extant to even form our solar system. Everything that exists in the universe was created within the order of the laws of physics, and nothing in nature can violate these laws, because what exists does so as an expression of those laws. Is our universe inherently sacred and divine? I would say yes, if nothing else, just because of its improbability and its immensity. Neil deGrasse Tyson spoke eloquently of this when he said, "The most astounding fact is the knowledge that the atoms that comprise life on Earth, the atoms that make up the human body, are traceable to the crucibles that cooked light elements into heavy elements in their core under extreme temperatures and pressures. These ingredients became part of the glass clouds that condensed, collapsed, formed the next generation of solar systems, stars with orbiting planets, and those planets now have the ingredients for life itself. So when I look up at the night sky, I know, yes, we are a part of the universe. We are in this universe. But perhaps more important than both of those facts is that the universe is in us. When we reflect on the fact, many people feel small because they're small and the universe is big. But I feel big because my atoms come from those stars. There's a level of connectivity there." The Big Bang and universe formation are our first creation story. The other is the creation and evolution of life, which, as far as we know, and we could easily be wrong about this, has only happened in this one place. It's definitely the only place we know about it on Earth. Physical processes such as heating affected the raw materials on our planet and precipitated chemical reactions. Somehow, after lots of stuff got baked and mushed, one such reaction led to the creation of our very first progenitor cell. To exist, this cell had to form, and it had to carry instructions that enabled it to be copied, to reproduce. For many millions of years, many millions of microbes reproduced, mutated, changed, and adapted. Now, most of these mutants did not survive, but those that somehow were adaptive did, maybe. These were all small, single-cell creatures, and they all released oxygen as a waste product. At some point, millions of years later in this process, these little guys, these microbes, had released enough oxygen so our atmosphere reached the level of about 20% oxygen. And that energized processes that allowed the creation of higher order creatures, multicellular, increasingly complex. And I'm sure some of the things I'm saying here aren't quite accurate, but the flow is close, I hope. Now, organisms, they change by genetic mutation, most of which have either no influence or just cause the organism to die. Rarely a mutated gene is expressed in a trait that has a favorable impact on the adaptation and the survival of that organism. It is called natural selection when this favorable trait allows the organism to thrive. And it's the only way that life forms evolve. It's a huge trial and error process. Maybe we need a probabilist here to help us figure this out. We know where things eventually went. More complex organisms evolved and reproduced, creating new and differentiated species, each with different traits and attributes. Way down the path, we get to primates and to Homo sapiens, us. And even that we're still learning about. In our own arrogance, we assumed that we split off from the other primates about 15 million years ago and developed on our own pathway. Just recently, we learned that that's not true. We only split away about 5 million years ago after the orangutans and gorillas, but before the bonobos and chimpanzees. So these two, the bonobos and chimps, are our closest genetic relatives. We share a common ancestor in about more than 98% of our DNA. We know that thousands of species of both plant and animal life are spread across Earth, all products of evolution that started from these same basic ingredients. What is truly special, as far as we know, is that the creation of life has only occurred on Earth. And even if it occurred somewhere else, it's unlikely that we'd find out about it very soon. When we consider the sheer improbability of our existence, we have to feel amazement, wonder, and a sense of awe. We understand the physical, chemical, and eventually biological processes that got us here, and we understand them well enough to realize that they cannot have been guided or designed by external forces. Everything we are is the result of random occurrences operating within the laws of nature and the continued persistence and replication of those that were viable. To call our existence a miracle might not be correct, but it is pretty much true. I feel that reverence and gratitude are definitely an appropriate way to respond to life. One special trait of the human animal that makes us even more special, and that is our high level of consciousness, reflectiveness, intelligence, and insight. Other species have modest levels of awareness and skills, but only humans have developed a true analytical consciousness with symbolic representation, such as language, that we use to teach one another, to share and store our learning. We're unique among earthly species in this regard, and it really has consequences that we should consider. We humans have developed an immense capacity to cooperate, communicate, create, and to change our environment. And we're at a crucial time in our own evolution. Remember that we're still evolving as we live in a world where we are changing our reality far faster than we can adapt by evolutionary means. Things are just changing really quick. And when we talk of a generation, it's a time that maybe a mutation can happen, maybe things can happen. It's a slow process and nothing's steering it. Most of our primal instincts are very local, familial, and tribal, while we share a world community that is now fully global. We, the human species, will need every advantage we can muster to get through the transitions we face in creating a sustainable environment. It is no longer an us versus them problem, where them is the other groups of people. It is our species against the laws of nature, and nobody beats the laws of nature. So the only strategy, the only basis for true spiritual wisdom is to figure out how to live in harmony with others on this planet we share. All other people, all other life forms, and the physical planet itself. Human continuation is our challenge as we develop the capacity to affect the equilibrium of life on our planet. Like it or not, we are the dominant species and the stewards of our planet, and we are very possibly the potential victims of our own success through poor stewardship. We must learn to revere the things that exist on Earth and to develop a willingness to use our planet with care and gratitude. We should be able, as a species, to figure out, maybe with a whole lot of work and a lot of goodwill, how to share this earth with other creatures, including other human creatures, how to restore and preserve its varied and versatile environment on our behalf. Hopefully we can learn to pursue this end with some grace and some joy, because how we relate to one another is the essence of how we find and make meaning. Our responsibility is to our descendants. We need to feel the reality of this cosmos and our experience as a certainty of the knowledge that I am not just me. I am the human species as it passes through me. This knowledge, if we can own it, can make us feel divine. Amen, and blessed be. I now ask you to rise if you're able and willing.